The only sound in the room was the soft, rhythmic hum of the air conditioner, a mechanical sigh that seemed to mock the end of my world. Or what they assumed was my world. Across the polished mahogany table, Camilla Thorne, the newly promoted Director of Operations, arranged her features into a mask of synthetic sympathy. It was a poorly crafted mask. I could see the unconcealed triumph glittering in her eyes. After 16 years of pouring my life into Innovate Dynamics, it had come down to this sterile, beige conference room, and a woman half my age telling me my time was over. "Eleanor," she began, her voice a carefully rehearsed blend of regret and corporate firmness. "As you know, the company is undergoing a significant strategic realignment." She gestured to her silent partner, a man from human resources named David, whose expression was so blank he might as well have been part of the furniture. "We're restructuring your entire division. Your position. It's being made redundant." Redundant. Such a clinical, bloodless word for an execution. It was meant to sound impersonal, like a line of code being deleted. But I felt the cold edge of the knife. I had built the research and development division from the ground up. I had personally scouted, hired, and mentored every single engineer on my team. We weren't a division. We were the company's heart, pumping out the innovations that kept it alive. The irony was a bitter taste in my mouth. David slid a thick, cream-colored folder across the table. It stopped perfectly centered in front of me. The severance package. My price. I knew what was inside without looking the standard formula of 2 weeks' pay for every year of service. A few months of Cobra health insurance. And a voucher for a career counseling service that specialized in helping mature workers re-enter a job market that didn't want them. I placed my hands calmly on the table, lacing my fingers together to still the faint tremor that threatened to betray me. I had to play my part. "I see," I said, my voice even, betraying none of the storm raging inside me. "These are difficult decisions. I understand the needs of the business must come first." A wave of palpable relief washed over their faces. They had braced for a scene. They had expected tears, accusations, perhaps even a desperate plea from the 5-6-year-old woman they were casting out into the unforgiving wilderness of the tech industry. A world where my 2 decades of experience were seen not as an asset, but as a liability. A world that worshipped at the altar of youth. What they couldn't possibly know was that I had been preparing for this exact moment for 43 days. Ever since a carelessly forwarded email from our CEO, Julian Croft, had landed in my inbox by mistake. It was a thread between him and the board, titled Project Sunset, outlining in cold, corporate language the plan to phase out legacy leadership and absorb the R&D budget into marketing after securing the final patent on my life's work. They were waiting for the final piece of my soul to be legally theirs before they threw the rest of me away. "We will need you to clear out your desk by the end of the day on Friday," Camilla continued, her confidence swelling in the face of my placid acceptance. She was enjoying this far too much. "Your company laptop, phone, and keycard will need to be returned to HR before you leave. Your team will be informed of the new reporting structure this afternoon." My team. My brilliant, loyal team. The 6 engineers who had turned my theoretical concepts into the elegant, powerful architecture of Nexus Core, the flagship accounting software that now ran in over half of the Fortune 500 companies, the very software that was the subject of Julian's all-hands meeting at this exact moment, a meeting where he was likely standing in front of a giant screen, displaying revenue projections based entirely on their work. "On my work?" "Of course," I replied, a small, polite smile fixed on my lips. I rose from my chair, the movement fluid and unhurried. "Is there anything else?" They exchanged a quick, confused glance. My lack of emotion was unsettling to them. It wasn't in their script. Camilla recovered first. "No, Eleanor. That's all. Thank you for your professionalism." Professionalism. The word was an insult, but I let it pass. As I walked from the conference room, my heels clicking softly on the marble floor. I passed the glass-walled boardroom. Inside, Julian Croft was gesturing wildly at a PowerPoint slide. I could read the title even from this distance: Q4 Projections, Unprecedented Growth. He was a conductor without an orchestra, taking credit for a symphony he didn't write. Last year, at the industry's largest conference, he had presented my distributed ledger algorithm as his own vision, referring to me, its sole architect, as merely one of the dedicated members of our research team. I reached the sanctuary of my office and closed the door, the click of the latch sounding unnervingly final. The silence was a welcome relief. I ignored the blinking light on my desk phone, the stacks of technical journals, the framed award for innovation in enterprise software that now seemed like a relic from another life. Instead, I pulled out my personal phone, my fingers moving quickly across the screen. I typed a single, coded message to a number I knew by heart. The chessboard is cleared. My move on Friday. I hit send. My hand trembled. Just for a second, a fleeting ghost of fear and doubt. Was this the right path? Was I becoming as cold and calculating as them? The thought vanished as quickly as it came. This wasn't about revenge. It was about justice. A moment later, the phone buzzed with a reply. Well played. The contracts are signed and waiting. Dinner tonight to celebrate the first move. I looked at the calendar on my desk. Today was Wednesday. On Friday, I would walk out of Innovate Dynamics for the last time. And on Monday would be the dawn of a new era. A small, genuine smile finally touched my lips. It was the smile of a woman who had been underestimated, and who was about to remind the world what she was worth. That evening, far from the polished corporate campus of Innovate Dynamics, I met Marcus Thorne in a quiet alcove of a downtown restaurant. Meridian was the kind of place where conversations were shielded by dark wood and hushed service. A place chosen for its discretion. As the CEO of Apex Solutions, Innovate's fiercest competitor, Marcus understood the value of moving silently. I still can't believe they actually did it, he said, shaking his head slowly after the waiter had taken our order. His expression was a mixture of disbelief and strategic glee. To let go of the one person who created their entire value proposition, Julian is either more arrogant or more foolish than I ever imagined. He's both, I replied, taking a sip of water. My hand was steady now. The last vestiges of doubt had been burned away by the cold finality of the afternoon. Julian never saw the architecture. He saw a product. He understood the user interface, the sales pitch, the market share, but the engine underneath, the complex, multi-threaded processing algorithm that made it all possible to him, that was just tech stuff, a commodity. The beautiful, tragic irony of it all was that he was about to discover just how wrong he was. 3 months ago, a casual follow-up with our legal department had unearthed a terrifying oversight. The patent application for Nexus Core's foundational algorithm, my algorithm, had never been filed. There was a draft, a file number, but the final submission had inexplicably stalled. An administrative error? They'd assured me when I'd flagged it. We're expediting it immediately. But their reassurances felt hollow, their smiles too quick. A deep-seated instinct, honed by years of navigating corporate politics, screamed that something was wrong. That night, I initiated a deep search of the company's internal servers, using a backdoor I had built into the system years ago for diagnostic purposes. It was there, buried in a folder of executive strategy documents, that I found it, Project Sunset. It was a detailed, step-by-step plan to claim the algorithm as a company-developed, unattributed asset, secure the patent under the corporate name, and then terminate my position. My high salary was a liability, and my age made me an easy target for their narrative of a youthful, dynamic future. They wanted my creation, but not the creator. What Innovate Dynamics didn't know, what Julian in his hubris could never have imagined, was that their betrayal had been my catalyst. For the past year, working late into the night in my home office, on my own equipment, I had been secretly developing the next evolution of my algorithm. I had refined it, optimized it, and achieved a 45% increase in processing efficiency, a quantum leap that would leave the original version in the dust. My employment agreement was clear intellectual property developed outside of work. On personal resources, was mine, and mine alone. Last month, I had quietly filed for my own patent, complete with meticulous, time-stamped development logs, a detailed hardware manifest, and a notarized affidavit from a third-party code verifier. Thanks to an introduction from Marcus to one of the best IP law firms in the country, the patent had been granted with astonishing speed. It's all finalized, Marcus said now, sliding a sleek leather portfolio across the table. It made a soft, satisfying thud. The moment you sign this, Apex Solutions officially acquires the exclusive worldwide licensing rights to your patent. We've arranged a 7-figure signing bonus, a substantial equity stake in the company, and, of course, the position of Chief Technology Officer. He paused, a grin spreading across his face. The press release goes live at 7 a.m. sharp on Monday. I reviewed the documents, though I had already committed every clause to memory. The terms were more than generous. They were a declaration of my value, a value Innovate Dynamics had seen fit to declare redundant. I thought of the team I had left behind, the 6 brilliant minds who had trusted my leadership. They were the ones who would be caught in the crossfire of this corporate war. I'm more concerned about my team, he admitted, my voice low. They followed my lead, and they don't deserve to be collateral damage in Julian's downfall. Marcus nodded, his expression serious. He had anticipated this. Already handled. We have senior engineering positions open for all 6 of them, with compensation packages that will significantly exceed what Innovate is paying them. The offers are ready to be sent the moment you give the word. A weight I hadn't realized I was carrying lifted from my shoulders. My plan hadn't just secured my own future, it protected theirs. With a steady hand, I uncapped a pen and signed the final page. In that single, deliberate stroke of ink, I had reclaimed my work, protected my people, and set in motion a chain of events that would shake the industry to its core. To new beginnings, Marcus said, raising his glass. And to owning your value, I replied, the clink of our glasses sealing the pact. Thursday and Friday were a masterclass in dissimulation. I moved through the motions of a departing employee with a serene professionalism that baffled everyone around me. I conducted exhaustive knowledge transfer sessions, documenting every process, every system architecture, and every project dependency with meticulous detail. It wasn't an act of kindness. It was an act of strategy. I was creating an undeniable record of my good faith departure, a mountain of evidence that would make their inevitable claims of sabotage and theft look utterly baseless. The office was a landscape of whispered rumors and sympathetic glances. Junior developers I'd mentored approached me awkwardly, asking for LinkedIn recommendations. Administrative staff offered sad smiles in the hallways. I was the ghost of Innovate's future, a cautionary tale already taking shape in the corporate ether. On Friday afternoon, as I was carefully placing the contents of my desk into a cardboard box family photos, a row of conference badges that chronicled my career, the worn coffee mug my team had given me last Christmas, Camilla appeared at my doorway. She leaned against the frame, a picture of contrived casualness. Just wanted to make sure your transition is going smoothly, she said, her eyes scanning the box, as if looking for any sign of stolen property. Perfectly smooth, I replied, wrapping the small, Lucite award I'd won for the Nexus Core algorithm in tissue paper. The irony was so thick it was almost suffocating. This was the moment I had dreaded. The unplanned variable. My personal tablet was on the desk beside the box, its screen dark, or so I thought, as the light from the hallway hit it at just the right angle. I saw the faint ghost of the last document. I'd been viewing a PDF of my patent application. The title, Nexus Core 2, 0. Distributed processing enhancements faintly visible. My heart hammered against my ribs. A sudden, cold spike of pure panic. If she saw that, if she had even an ounce of curiosity, the entire plan could unravel before it even began. My mind raced. I needed a distraction. Something sudden and natural. My coffee mug was in my hand. Without a second thought, I let my grip slip. The mug crashed onto the corner of my desk, sending a lukewarm spray of coffee across a stack of papers and dangerously close to her expensive-looking shoes. "Oh, goodness," I exclaimed, my voice a pitch higher with manufactured distress. "How clumsy of me. I'm so sorry. Camilla." Her attention snapped from the tablet to the mess on the floor. She took a hasty step back, her expression a mixture of annoyance and disgust. "It's fine," she said curtly, waving a dismissive hand. "Just be careful." The moment was all I needed. While she was focused on her shoes, I subtly nudged the tablet with my elbow, flipping it face down on the desk. The danger had passed. My pulse was still thundering in my ears, a stark reminder of how close I had come to disaster. The victory would not be effortless. It would be earned later. During my final exit interview, David from HR droned through his checklist. "You understand that all intellectual property developed during your employment remains the exclusive property of Innovate Dynamics?" he asked, his tone flat and bored. "Of course," I said pleasantly, emphasizing each word with subtle precision. "Anything developed within the scope of my employment? Using company resources. During company time." He was too busy ticking boxes to notice the legal qualifiers I had just laid down like a brick wall. "And you affirm that you have no copies of proprietary company information in your possession?" "I have taken nothing that belongs to Innovate Dynamics." I confirmed. The statement, absolutely and unequivocally true. The patent belonged to me. As I taped the box shut, Camilla reappeared for one final, condescending farewell. "So," she began, that false note of concern back in her voice, "will you be taking some time off? To travel? Perhaps. Actually, I already have my next role lined up," I said, lifting the box into my arms. "I start on Monday." Surprise flickered across her face, quickly replaced by dismissive curiosity. "Oh, that was fast. Anything interesting?" I allowed myself a small, enigmatic smile. "A leadership position. I'm quite excited about it." She nodded, her mind already elsewhere, likely on how she would redecorate my office. "Well, good luck with that." Walking out of the glass and steel headquarters of Innovate Dynamics for the last time, I didn't look back. My keycard was gone, my laptop wiped, my 16-year career reduced to the contents of a single cardboard box. High above, the lights in the executive conference room were blazing. They were probably debating how to divide my responsibilities among younger, cheaper employees. They had no idea that in less than 64 hours, that same room would become the command center for a crisis of their own making, and my name would be the one they cursed. Monday morning arrived with the crisp, clean light of a new beginning. I dressed with deliberate care, choosing a charcoal suit I'd bought specifically for this day. It was armor. At precisely 7:30 a.m., a black town car, sent by Apex Solutions, purred to a stop at my curb. As I settled into the plush leather seats for the drive to my new headquarters, my phone buzzed. It was Marcus. The release went live at 7 a.m. on the dot. His message read, "Industry newsletters have already picked it up. The communications team is standing by. Welcome to your first day. Dr. Vance." The announcement had been sculpted with the precision of a scalpel, designed to cut deep and clean. Apex Solutions acquires exclusive rights to revolutionary Nexus Core 2.0 algorithm. Welcomes creator, Dr. Eleanor Vance as Chief Technology Officer. The text went on to detail my extensive background, unequivocally identifying me as the sole inventor of the patented technology. It concluded with the most crucial line: a declaration of war disguised as a business announcement. Precision Systems will be integrating this next-generation algorithm into its entire product suite. Any companies currently utilizing related foundational technologies will need to enter into licensing negotiations to ensure continued operational use. I arrived at a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a panoramic view of the city, a stark contrast to the windowless room I'd occupied for years at Innovate. My new assistant was showing me the features of the integrated communication system when my personal phone lit up, the first tremor of the earthquake I had started. It was from Miguel, my former lead developer at Innovate. Complete and utter chaos here. What in God's name did you do? A small, grim smile touched my lips. I typed back a simple reply. Check your personal email. All 6 of you. There are offers waiting. 10 miles away. The Monday morning executive meeting at Innovate Dynamics was breeding station the Sen. According to Miguel's subsequent frantic updates, imploding. Julian Croft had apparently walked into the office to find the company's general counsel and CFO waiting for him, both looking like they'd seen a ghost. The press release had hit their inboxes at the same time it hit the rest of the industry, triggering a 5-alarm fire in the C-suite. By 9:30 a.m., what was supposed to have been a routine weekly kickoff had morphed into a full-blown crisis session. Board members were dialing in on emergency video calls. The legal team was frantically tearing apart my 16-year-old employment contract, searching for a loophole that didn't exist. They're pulling every file with your name on it. Miguel texted. They just wheeled the old R&D servers into the boardroom for the IT guys to analyze. Julian is pacing like a caged animal. Stock is already down 9%. I could picture the scene perfectly. Julian, his face flushed with rage and panic, demanding answers from a terrified Camilla, who was now realizing the redundant 5-6-year-old woman she'd so smugly dismissed was holding a gun to the company's head. Investors despise uncertainty, and I had just served them a feast of it. At 10:45 a.m., an email landed in my new Apex inbox. The sender was Julian Croft. The desperation was so thick it seemed to radiate from the screen. Eleanor, there appears to have been a grave misunderstanding regarding intellectual property. I am certain we can clear this up quickly. Please call me at your earliest convenience to discuss a path forward. I stared at his name, at the desperate, pleading words. For a moment, I felt nothing but a cold, hard satisfaction. This was the man who had taken credit for my work, who had dismissed me in front of the entire industry, who had planned to discard me like a used component. But beneath the satisfaction was a hollow ache, a somber recognition of the sheer waste of it all. His greed and arrogance had forced my hand, and now his company was burning. This wasn't a victory I savored, it was a consequence I had engineered out of necessity. Without replying, I forwarded the email to the head of Apex's legal department with a simple note, for your information. By noon, the industry was in an uproar. Innovate Dynamics stock had plummeted by 15% since the market opened. Apex Solutions, in contrast, had surged by 12%. 3 of the biggest technology journals had already requested interviews with me. Marcus stopped by my office, his face alight with excitement. How are you feeling? Vindicated. I answered honestly. For 16 years, I watched other people, men, put their names on my work. I was told to be grateful for a seat at the table. Now, I own the table. My new assistant appeared at the door, her expression apologetic. Dr. Vance, the product development team is ready for you in the main conference room. She hesitated. And? Julian Croft from Innovate Dynamics has called your office 6 times in the last hour. Please inform Mr. Croft that I am in meetings for the rest of the day, I said, my voice calm and steady. Our legal team will be in touch with his to discuss licensing options later in the week. As I walked toward my first official meeting as Chief Technology Officer, my phone buzzed one last time. It was Miguel. Board just called an emergency session for this afternoon. Julian looks like he's about to have an aneurysm. P.S. We accept. All 6 of us. When can we start? By Tuesday morning. The shockwaves had solidified into a new, harsh reality for Innovate Dynamics. Their entire business model, the foundation of their market leadership, rested on the Nexus Core software. And Nexus Core was now, legally and technologically, a house built on sand. Without the rights to my patented algorithm, they faced 2 catastrophic choices: negotiate an exorbitant licensing fee from their biggest competitor, or attempt to rebuild their core technology from scratch, a Herculean task that would take years, cost hundreds of millions, and almost certainly fail. On Wednesday, as predicted, their desperation took the form of aggression. A blustering legal notice arrived from Innovate's attorneys, alleging intellectual property theft and threatening an injunction. I forwarded it to Marcus and our legal team. The response from our head counsel came back within minutes. Let them try. Your documentation is ironclad. The development logs, the hardware serial numbers, the third-party verifications. It's a fortress. This is just saber-rattling. They have nothing. Meanwhile, I was settling into a world that felt like a different dimension. At Apex Solutions, my age and experience were not liabilities to be managed, but assets to be leveraged. When I spoke in meetings, the room fell silent. My ideas weren't intercepted and repackaged by male colleagues. They were implemented. During my first technical briefing with the engineering team, I outlined the additional refinements I had developed for Nexus Core 2. 0 enhancements I had deliberately withheld from Innovate after discovering their betrayal. Early simulations show these new subroutines could boost performance by more than 50%. Greg, the head of engineering, said, his eyes wide with excitement, That's revolutionary. It's what happens when you stop seeing innovation as a line item on a budget. I replied, their loss is our gain. The true reckoning for Innovate Dynamics came on Friday, exactly 1 week after I had walked out of their doors with my life in a cardboard box. An industry news alert flashed across my screen. Innovate Dynamics announces emergency leadership shakeup. CEO Julian Croft steps down. Effective immediately. The article detailed that Camilla Thorne and the company's general counsel had also been terminated. The board had lost all confidence, citing a catastrophic failure of oversight regarding core intellectual property. The purge was swift, brutal, and complete. That evening, I received an email from a man named Richard Donovan, the newly appointed interim CEO of Innovate Dynamics. His tone was the polar opposite of Julian's. It was direct, respectful, and devoid of false pretenses. Dr. Vance, congratulations on your new position at Apex Solutions. I have been brought in to navigate the current situation here at Innovate. I would like to formally open a dialogue regarding a fair and equitable licensing arrangement for your patented technology. We are prepared to publicly acknowledge your foundational contributions and make amends for the oversights of previous management. Please let me know when you and your team would be available to meet. The war was over. I had won. 1 year to the day after being told my position was redundant. I stood on the main stage of the National Technology Innovation Conference, preparing to deliver the keynote address. The vast auditorium was filled with the brightest minds in the industry. Last year, I had sat in the back of this very room, an anonymous face in the crowd, watching Julian Croft accept an award for the innovations I had created. And now, it is my distinct honor to introduce our keynote speaker. The conference organizer announced, his voice booming, a true pioneer whose work has redefined data processing, the Chief Technology Officer of Apex Solutions, Dr. Eleanor Vance. The applause was a thunderous wave. As I stepped up to the podium, I saw them all tech journalists, venture capitalists, and dozens of young women engineers in the front rows, their faces shining with inspiration. "Thank you," I began, my voice steady and clear. "Today, I want to talk about ownership. Not the ownership of a company or of market share, but the ownership of an idea. I want to talk about the importance of valuing the creators, the innovators, the architects of our future, and why seeing them as anything less than your most valuable asset is the most dangerous mistake a company can make." I never mentioned Innovate Dynamics by name. I didn't have to. My story had become a legend in the tech world, a cautionary tale taught in business schools. Later that evening, at a reception, a young programmer approached me, her eyes bright with a nervous energy I recognized in my younger self. "Dr. Vance," she said, "your story, it made me start a private log of all the work I do on my own time, with timestamps and everything." "Good," I told her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Protect your brilliance. It's the most valuable thing you will ever own." Back in my spacious office at Apex, an office that now felt like home, I reviewed the latest quarterly report. We had released 3 new products built on the Nexus Core 2 Zero engine, capturing a staggering 30% of the market share that had once belonged to Innovate Dynamics and other competitors. A knock on the door made me look up. It was Marcus, holding a bottle of champagne and 2 flutes. "Happy anniversary," he said with a wide grin. "The board just got the final numbers. As of today, Apex Solutions has officially surpassed Innovate Dynamics in total market valuation for the first time in history." As he poured the champagne, my assistant brought in a sleek, silver envelope. It was an invitation to speak at the Women in Technology Annual Leadership Summit. The proposed topic, owning your intellectual value. I smiled, a deep, kit satisfaction settling over me. It had never been about revenge. It had been about recognition, about ensuring that my name was forever tied to the work of my life. It was about proving that in an industry obsessed with the next new thing, the wisdom and experience of a 5-6-year-old woman were not redundant. They were revolutionary. This journey has been about so much more than just one person's fight. It's a reminder to every single one of us that our ideas, our work, and our worth are our own. If my story has resonated with you, if it has inspired you to stand up for your own value, please consider liking this video and sharing it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more stories about overcoming challenges. And let me know in the comments below about a time you had to fight for the credit you deserved. Your story matters. 2.